by this time, everybody on that roster should know what it means to beat the Packers. It's simple.
If I was a coach, Justin Fields would have been balling from day one.
Welcome back, everybody. Now we're doing day 3. I'm not entirely sure how long we're going to do. We're going to do all the way to the 7th round, but for sure we're going to do the 4th round. The Bears have pick number 122, and we'll get into all the picks that get taken around. The other guys will probably join us at some point. They may be a little busy today, but thought I'd get it started, and we'll see how things go. Right now, we have 3 minutes left, 3.5 minutes almost, and Carolina is on the clock with pick number 101. So we're about 21 picks roughly away from where the Chicago Bears are picking. I know a lot of us Bears fans are hoping that they pick up some type of edge rusher because we definitely need some help in that area. And I was talking to the guys last night, and we've been thinking about the fact that we probably are hoping that the reason that they haven't taken an edge rush is that there's something in the pipeline, something that they're working on, something to bring somebody, maybe a trade or something like that. So I guess we do have to kind of keep an eye out, and we will be reporting it if something does end up happening, So, yeah, we'll just get right into it and kind of chill for a bit, talk about what picks come up, and see how things go. So the Panthers selection at 101 is in. They select Ja'Tavion Sanders, a tight end from Texas. Okay. Giving Bryce Young some more targets there. I think that was one of the issues that the Panthers faced last year. They had problems all over the field, but you can't really evaluate your young new rookie quarterback if he doesn't have anybody to throw to. In order to get him, they traded DJ Moore away to the Bears. Didn't really think that one through, I don't think, but that was what the Bears needed to make that trade, I guess. And personally, I like the way that trade worked out for us. But okay, it looks like Panthers have gotten a wide receiver, running back, linebacker, and a tight end so far. I'd say they've given a couple new targets, improved their running game because they got rid of they traded away their running back this offseason, I believe. So, and they did get the wide receiver Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier in the offseason. So they could have a interesting new look. Oh, looks like Denver just traded with Seattle Now Denver is in at 102. Let's see what Denver decides to do. Looks like they made a pretty big jump. When they show the particulars for the draft or for the trade, I'll go ahead and let you guys know what those are. Okay. Denver got the 102 overall pick, which is what we're on now, and Seattle's 7th round pick. And it looks like they traded away a 5th and a 6th to be able to move up. And I think they did a pick swap for this current round. I'm wondering if they're going to try and grab somebody to help out their new quarterback, Bo Nix. Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon. That was somebody I think that was on Wes's list there. Can't be too sure, but Wes, if you're watching, let me know. I feel like Troy Franklin was on your list at some point. But yeah, that's actually one of the things that we were talking about when we were talking about the idea of getting Brendan Rice. Like, you go out and get a wide receiver that already has a connection with your quarterback. Troy Franklin played in Oregon with Bo Nix. Bringing them both in at the same time just seems like a smart play there. Might have been why they decided they felt that they needed to move up. Move up, go and get their quarterback, their new quarterback, a wide receiver he already has trust with. And he did well. He had 81 receptions, almost 1,400 yards, and 14 touchdowns just last year. So, to be quite honest, I think that was a pretty good pick where we're at right now in the 4th round. Okay, now we're on to New England with pick 103. Let's see who they're going to grab. I feel like they've already grabbed their quarterback and at least a wide receiver. So let's see what else they decide to grab. If they go defense or maybe even offensive line to try and help protect their new quarterback. Earlier in the show, they were discussing about very few trades in the top 10. There was only the one by the Vikings who traded up from 11th to 10th. And they were discussing about the fact that one of the GMs in the top 10 called into one of the sportscasters or something and said that he asked, "Are you shocked about the lack of trades that have been going on for the top 10?" And the guy responded with, "Well, if you're looking to trade up, you're calling the wrong guy." And he's like, "No, I'm good where I'm at." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if the people that were there are good where they're at, then that might have been why there wasn't as many trade ups. I feel like up until that 8th pick of the draft, things kind of went the way that people were kind of expecting. Maybe like flip flopping here and there. Like maybe Joe Alt was expected to go at 7, not necessarily 5, but like still things went pretty on point up until that Michael Penix Jr. pick. That threw everybody for a loop. Okay, New England Patriots select a guard, Layden Robinson from Texas A&M. Okay. Like I was thinking, maybe they were going to get somebody to help protect their new quarterback. Even if he doesn't end up being their starter, you want to have some depth. You want to kind of build that offensive line, and then you go ahead and you have somebody that maybe sticks around for 10 years. Pick the right person. And when you draft a quarterback that you want to be the next franchise quarterback for a team that has already had a franchise quarterback before, then you have to make sure that you protect that guy. Okay. Looks like they grabbed the wide receiver Polk from Washington, which I think was a great pickup. And they also have now 2 offensive linemen that they've grabbed. Yeah, so they're really making that push on offense there. Up next is Arizona Cardinals, one of their 15 million picks that they seem to have. And their pick is at 104. And to be honest, I feel like at this point, they just better keep Arizona on speakerphone, just kind of like on a different phone line, because they seem to be calling in their picks all the time. They had so many of them this year, but I think that'll be the Bears next year. Really looking forward to that. Yeah, so far the Cardinals have already had 7 picks. So that's crazy. And we're still getting picks that are going to be like starting by the end of that first year. So Arizona's going to be looking like a pretty different team next year. So any of you guys planning on getting any of the either a Dunze or Caleb Williams jersey? Just wondering if you guys are already doing that, because it seems like our crew here, we have one person on each side, because we got Mark Robb over there. He's definitely getting himself a Caleb Williams jersey. And Wes has said a couple of times now that he's going for that blue Adunze jersey, I think is what he was going for. I already have a number 15 for wide receiver Bears jersey already. Some sitting around here somewhere. So I got that years ago. Brandon Marshall was one of my favorite players when I was growing up. I guess when I was more in like high school area, but still, don't think I'm going to necessarily get another 15. But who knows? We'll see. Okay, the Cardinals selection is in. Okay. They selected a safety, Dadrian Taylor Demerson from Texas Tech. Okay. We'll see how things go with that one. At the very least, the Arizona Cardinals offseason like training camps and stuff like that, those are going to be just proving grounds for a lot of these players. They will have to fight. Just getting drafted by the Cardinals this year doesn't necessarily guarantee you a spot because there are going to be a lot of competition and they're hedging their bets on a few of these positions here. They've gotten well, actually, they've got a pretty good spread around of what their positions they drafted are. The only one that they've doubled up on so far is cornerbacks. And so, yeah, there will be a bit of competition in that room. But then again, they also have to compete with the players already on the team. So now we're heading into the Los Angeles Chargers. They are at pick 105. Yeah, it's going to be a little while before the Bears get their pick. But hopefully that comes soon because I feel like all of us Bears fans are very interested in who the Bears are picking at their last pick. Sure does look like a pretty fun party out there in Detroit. Who knows? Maybe we can convince Mark Robb. He doesn't want to, but maybe we can convince him next year to go ahead and head up to Green Bay to support the Bears next year in the NFL draft. Having Mark Robb up there hopping in while they're doing the picks and stuff like that, that would be a really cool moment. But he said that he doesn't want to go up to Green Bay. Okay, they selected Justin Boygi from Alabama, defensive tackle, to the Chargers. Okay. I like to see the defensive tackles that have sacks, tackle for losses, good amount of those. He had 7 sacks last year, which pretty good for a defensive tackle, I would say. Alabama is a good school to come from. I like the idea of drafting from winning programs. Definitely makes me happier about bringing people that already know what it's like to win. So I think it's been a factor for me when I was doing my mock drafts. If there were two people that were similar in their play styles and stuff like that, I did often enjoy picking the one from the team that the school with a history of success. They know what they're doing when it comes to developing these players. And when you're in the NFL, you have to sit there and accept what the previous what their coaches in college actually did for them. So you can't really change how they were coached before they got to you. And some of those things are a lot harder to coach out of people. So if you draft from a place that they know how to develop and coach their players well, then you don't have to worry about it as much. I'm going to go ahead and throw up the Caleb hype video that we've got. I know we've showed it a few times, but I'll go ahead and throw it up, kind of show some highlights and get people even more hyped up than they already are.
And, I tend to, create history and rewrite history.
Stepped onto a college football field as a freshman at Oklahoma, down 28-7 against Texas in the biggest rivalry game in the country, leads them on a comeback.
It generally never happens where a quarterback that I evaluate is excellent in all 5 categories that I'm trying to evaluate him.
We were hired to break a cycle. The same thing when I was in Kansas City. Coach Reed, all of us were brought there to break a cycle.
It's good that this quarterback is different, because what's never different is the result every single time you play the Packers. And I'll tell you what's weird. You know what's the weirdest thing about Caleb? That he's going to be a Bears quarterback who is actually good.
Yeah. It's church. Hey. Feel like a king, feel like a god. I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top. These niggas looking so sloppy. I know he wish he could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga. There is nobody else like me. Feel like a king, feel like a god. I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top. These niggas looking so sloppy. I know they wish they could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga. There is nobody else like me. Refuse to lose, my nigga. I wake up and I gotta get to a check. Determined to go be the best. I've been so hungry, I'm working till I'm out of breath. Remember the days I was starving, they wonder why I gotta flex. Every day I'm taking steps to make sure my family's set. Ballin' like hot and I'm stirring the pot like a chef. You niggas don't get no airtime. Free all the niggas on fair time. Bitch, I've been going so hard, you was thinking LeBron when he ain't have a hairline. Too many thinking it's their time, but I think you losing your damn mind. While I just been patiently waiting, the beast has awakened, I need to go get mine. Just watch how I do it, I can't be talking, I gotta go prove it. People to hate, but it only influence me to be better. You mad cause you lose it. I know my purpose to live in this music. I won't give up, I got too much to lose, I got too much to prove. Nigga who dropped out of school, come back and stun on the people who doubted my move. Feel like a king, feel like a god, I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top, these niggas looking so sloppy. I know he wish he could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga, there is nobody else like me.
Okay, we're coming back, and the Tennessee Titans are picking at 109. And they just selected Cedric Gray, linebacker from North Carolina. Okay, so they started off, their first 2 picks were one on the offensive line and one on the defensive line. Actually, both of them were tackles. Was J.C. Latham early on, and they also picked up Tavondre Sweat, the defensive tackle from Texas. And they decided to build through the trenches this year. But when you have an early on pick like that, you get yourself a player that you believe will help take your team to that next level. And so they're getting themselves some players to help them on both sides of the field. Okay. So up next at 107 is the New York Giants. They've had some interesting picks so far too. Their top one being Malik Neighbors. But there are definitely some interesting picks still left that can be made. Definitely some players out there that have dropped a little bit further than what they were expected or projected to go to. Seeing the crowds in Detroit there, it just shows that us NFL fans, we travel with our team and we support the NFL. I love to see it. Whoa, okay. So New York has selected Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State. They were showing a little bit earlier that his athleticism scores have him rated as one of the top tight ends, even above Brock Bowers as far as athleticism is concerned. Now, Brock Bowers is arguably one of the best tight ends of this draft. So kudos to the Raiders there for grabbing him. And I was watching earlier and they were talking about how he was a great pick because Gardner Minshew is currently for them, he is their quarterback right now, their top quarterback. And he loves to throw to tight ends. So we'll see. I mean, the Giants have picked up two people. They've picked up some receiving pass catchers as well as some defensive backs because they got a safety and a cornerback earlier in the draft as well. So now we're on pick 108 with the Minnesota Vikings, and the selection is coming soon. Oh, there are the boos. I do find it interesting that this year and next year, back-to-back NFL drafts will be in NFC North teams. Oh, the Vikings select cornerback Kyrie Jackson from Oregon. Okay, and some defense. They did get defensive edge earlier. I believe they were the ones that took Dallas Turner, which isn't too pleasing for some of us Bears fans because we don't want the young defensive edge coming in and disrupting anything, but we just got to go to work and do our job. Okay. So up next, we have Atlanta at pick 109. After them, we have New England, followed by the Jets, followed by the Raiders, and the Baltimore Ravens, Jaguars, Bengals, Jaguars again. It's disappointing when we see some of these teams that have 2-3 picks and the Bears out here having 4 picks, but we still made the best of our picks so far. So we have made it onto the screen though. So on the bottom, you can see the picks in order, and we have made it onto the screen. So we're coming. Stop rubbing it in. I mean, they just mentioned that Braylon Trice, the edge rusher out of Washington, was the last pick by Atlanta. And we already know that Wes is not too pleased about that. So they need to stop rubbing that in. Brandon Dorlus from Oregon, defensive tackle. Wow. Okay. They're trying to beef up their defensive line there. Had a few players go from Oregon this round so far. Still don't know if they're going to end up knocking out Michigan or Washington, who I think both of those are tied at 7 right now. Yep, they're showing the Atlanta Falcons war room there, and there does not seem to be any explanation needed for this pick. Unlike the earlier pick at number 8, when the owner definitely did not seem pleased about the picking of a quarterback after he just spent $180 million contract on one. With pick 110, the Patriots are making their selection now. It does seem like they're doing a lot of international fans, having them reading the picks for this round. Okay. Javon Baker from UCF, a wide receiver, going to New England. So they have picked up two new wide receivers, I believe. Hey, I mean, you just picked up a new quarterback. Might as well make sure you at least make a wide receiver room that's competitive. Make sure to give him something to throw to. Sounds like Yep, they picked up Polk from Washington, who I believe was, I mean, we got the better wide receiver from Washington, but Polk was a very, very good wide receiver last year as well. One of the few teams I think that had 2 players that were over 1,000 receiving yards. Oh, looks like Green Bay ended up trading up. So now they're on the board at 111. Okay, I'll give some particulars after their pick comes in. I don't know. Like I think there are some things that the Bears could do at their pick. One of the things I'm kind of leaning towards hoping for, and it doesn't make as much sense knowing the type of team that Chicago, like knowing the needs that Chicago still has. They definitely do need some help on the defensive line, primarily in the edge selection section of the line there. But I'm hoping we also take a look at maybe the reason that we haven't selected an edge is because we're working on something. There's something that's already there in the pipeline that we are working towards and hopefully finalizing a deal for. So maybe they already have their plans, and if that's the case and they already have some decent edge rusher that they're going for, I would be happy with them picking Cedric Van Pran from Georgia, the center. I think that it would be a good. I know that the other guys are not too high on that pick, but I think that we've had issues at center for a while. Last year it was atrocious with one of our centers seemed to hike the ball too low. The other one seemed to hike the ball too high. And the only reason we bailed out some of those plays was because of the athleticism that Justin Fields had. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want Caleb to have to deal with that. I don't want him to, in his rookie year, be dealing with trying to reach up and jump up and catch a hike that should be right at his chest or right where he needs it to be. So, I don't know. I feel like we did address the center in the offseason, picked up a couple of guys that still have a year or two that they would be with us. But if we decide to draft a young player that could sit for a year and get up to speed on the game and stuff like that, I feel like that would be a very, very beneficial thing for the Bears going forward. This Packers fan is saying that this safety that they just drafted, Evan Williams from Oregon, is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Okay. Okay. It does seem like I have noticed a trend for our division rivals here, whether it be the Packers or the Lions or the Vikings. I have noticed a trend of them picking up some players on the defensive side, and I wonder if it's because they're looking at maybe wanting to make sure they can get to Caleb Williams and give him a few more sacks, trying to really push the envelope there and make sure that they can, because our offense here is looking pretty stacked, and it definitely isn't something that I wouldn't want to go up against it if I weren't a Bears fan. Like if the Bears came to town, I would be concerned after what the Bears have done this offseason. So with the 112th pick, the Raiders are selecting right now. DeCameron Richardson, the cornerback from Mississippi State. Okay. Seems like they're getting some help on their defensive side as well. They've got a couple of offensive linemen, one of which is JPJ. They got him pretty late. He was definitely expected to be first round, probably like top 15, I thought. And they got him at 44. And they also picked up Brock Bowers and a offensive tackle there at 77. So, looks like they're moving right on to 113 with the Baltimore Ravens. They select wide receiver Devontae Walker from North Carolina. This could be them hoping that he turns into another Zay Flowers from last year. Zay Flowers was definitely not the highest prospective wide receiver out of the draft last year, but he came out and he did really well for the Ravens there. Okay, up next we have Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Jacksonville again, Indianapolis, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Seattle again, and then it's time for the Bears. We're closing in, guys. Sent out a text a little bit ago to let the other guys know that we were getting close. Just want to make sure that if they have the opportunity, they can come and hop in, give their say on how things are going and who ends up coming to the Bears here. So I'll tell you guys about something I saw on Facebook when I was scrolling through yesterday that apparently the general manager of the Lions, I believe, every single draft he will go ahead and call. Oh, not the general manager, just one of the Lions executives. That's what it is. He will prank call a GM during when it's on the clock. So it's probably gotten to the point when they see his number pop up, they just immediately know it's a prank call at this point. I think that's funny because one of the guys that they were interviewing about it was saying that it's he's a close personal friend of his and he just likes to give him crap for it and stuff, and I thought that was pretty funny. And I feel like that's something I would do after I'd been in the league for a while. I'd have close personal friendships with a lot of these people that even if they are opposing teams, I am friends with them outside of football. So I would probably do some kooky things like that. Okay, so right now we're on pick 114, Jacksonville Jaguars. Bears have pick number 122. It's coming up. They do seem to be moving through these things a little bit quicker than yesterday, which is good because the first day took a while. The second day seemed to take just as long, like even though they covered 2 rounds, it took a while because they were taking their sweet time walking out to the podium and stuff like it. It would be nice if they kind of sped some of that stuff up sometimes. But we got 4 rounds to get through today. So we have some ground to catch up on because we're not going to be here until 10 o'clock tonight. That's for sure. Okay. The Jaguars select Javon Foster, tackle out of Missouri. Okay. Seems like they're building through the trenches a little bit more too. Maybe go ahead and try to protect their quarterback a bit more. Because without him, their team just kind of drops. Cincinnati Bengals just selected Eric All from Iowa, tight end. Oh, Iowa makes some good tight ends. I'm sure if you guys have been watching for a little while, you know that I'm an Iowa fan. My grandparents live in Iowa. My mom grew up there. She went to University of Iowa for a year before she ended up transferring to a different school. So we've been Iowa Hawkeye fans for my whole life and my mom's whole life too. So seeing Iowa tight ends out there, we got Sam Laporta, George Kittle, and now we got Eric All going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, and now they're making the next Jacksonville Jaguars pick at 116. The selection is in. Jordan Jefferson, the defensive tackle from LSU. Okay. Another winning program. Program that recognizes success and knows how to build good teams and recruit for good teams. So, and he had his career high in tackles with 36 last year. So, great to see that. Okay, up next, the pick is 117 for Indianapolis. Curious who the Colts are going to pick. Just had to send my mom a quick text just to make sure that she was aware that the tight end from Iowa was just taken by the Bengals. So my mom did just inform me that I I was a bit mistaken on who it was that was drafted. So the tight end that the Bengals drafted, he was really big when he was in Michigan, and then he transferred to Iowa and then ended up getting hurt. So turns out as long as he's healthy, he can be a good player for the Bengals there. Oh, the Indianapolis Colts select Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin. Okay. That if you guys were watching when we were doing our mock drafts, he was definitely discussed in, I want to say, my mock draft. Might have even drafted him. I can't remember if who was available, and at that point I know I didn't have a whole lot of trades, so I had to be very precise about my picks that I made. And so I do remember that Bortolini was somebody that we talked about for a little bit, because Mark Robb up there in Madison, he is right in the heart of Badger country. So, oh, we're moving on already. Seattle Seahawks at 118. Tyrese Knight, linebacker from UTEP. Okay, we're now at pick 119 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. My guy Andrew over there in Germany, he's definitely going to be interested to hear who they pick at number 4. So far, they've already picked up 2 offensive linemen. One of them is a center, definitely a need that they had. Wide receiver and linebacker. And we all know how much Pittsburgh loves their defense. So they said that the Steelers pick will be announced soon. Eagles are on the clock, who have the following pick. After the Eagles are the Seahawks. And after that, we're looking at next Chicago Bears. So we're getting there, guys. At this rate, I don't see the Bears potentially trading up at all to get another pick. Oh, it looks like Seattle has just swapped with Miami. Okay. Oh, the Eagles swapped with Miami. They said they used the next year's 3rd round pick to be able to move up 4 spaces. So Mason McCormick from San Diego State, the guard. Okay. They are definitely making some headway on their offensive line. Definitely, at the very least, at this point, it's maybe we can find that diamond in the rough that can work their way into a starting role, or at that point, who knows? I mean, at the very least, you have some depth that you're getting for the Pittsburgh Steelers there. And I know a lot of us Bears fans are going to be very keen to look in on how the Steelers are doing, because as much as some players or some fans may not have liked his time in the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields did draw a lot of people in to watch. The things that he was able to do sometimes definitely made some games more exciting than they would have been. We just wish the games would have ended up in a win. So there are going to be a lot of us still kind of keeping an eye on him and how he does. And I think like Mark Robb said last night, we're probably going to still continue to look in on how he's doing in his career for the next 2-3 years. Kind of paying attention to how things are going, because I feel like every single Bears fan out there has said that we all understand that he was given a raw deal. Yes, there are things that he could have done better as well, but he was definitely not set up to succeed when he came to the NFL. And so definitely going to be watching him, but we also look into the future, and we are very excited for Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. I'm going to go ahead and play Rome Odunze's clips here that we have from when we did our wide receiver discussion a little while back. There it is. Yeah, he makes some good catches. He's going to be a great player for us, I think. And the connection he already seems to have with Caleb Williams it's a bright spot to see. And as Bear fans, we've never really been in a position where the offense is where we get excited for. But that's how the league has been going. A defensive focused team doesn't seem like they can really go into the Super Bowl or anything like that lately, unless they have a good show on offense too. Because you can't rely on defense in this day and age. It just there are too many of the rules and flags and penalties and stuff like that that are given to make things easier for wide receivers and quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it's a lot harder to go in there as a defensive only team there. So we have the Dolphins pick coming up soon at 120. They just traded up from the 123 pick. So maybe they're trying to take somebody that Chicago is going to take, or maybe they're trying to jump up to take somebody from Seattle. We'll see when the pick comes in. But Chicago Bears picking at 122, just a couple picks away. Wow, it sure does look like it would be a lot of fun as a fan of football itself to be able to go to the draft. They seem to have a lot of things set up, like they were just showing all of the Super Bowl rings kind of encased in with each year for the ring, and definitely something that I think would be cool. Who knows? Maybe I decide to go next year and convince Mark Robb to come with me. We'll see how things go. Okay, and the selection is coming to us. Okay, it does seem to look like they're using International Fan of the Year to announce this round of picks. Pretty cool. Jalen Wright, running back from Tennessee. Okay. They were talking a little bit earlier about there still being a few quarterbacks that could end up going in these later rounds. And wow, Jalen Wright. He could be he could help that Miami offense. Because right now they seem to be focusing primarily on their passing game, but guess we'll see. So Seattle is picking at 121. They say the pick is in. They'll wait a little bit before they make their announcement, but that means the Chicago Bears are on the clock. Oh, okay. So Jalen Wright would be the third string running back for the Dolphins. So might not necessarily get playing time, but he might. Guess we'll find out. Wow. The Seahawks selection is being presented by some people that I suspect that my boy Andro knows, because they are in Germany and they are from the BBB soccer team. So they select tight end AJ Barner from Michigan. Another Michigan. That just goes to really show how stacked that Michigan team was, that they have 8 players already drafted into the NFL. Wow, that's impressive. He seems to be more of a blocking tight end. He only had 22 receptions last year with about 249 yards and a touchdown, but they also seem to be a very big run heavy team. So can't always base that on looking at that. So we are at the Chicago Bears pick 122 here, and they're saying the pick has already been called in. So Ryan Poles already made his call. They'll be on the stage to announce it soon. Oh, here he comes. We have our... They're being booed, and this international fan comes out and says, Bears fans, can you hear anything? Because I don't. Love it. The best team in the NFC North. Ha ha. The Bears. The UK does love their Bears. Torrey Taylor, punter. I'll be honest with you guys. I made the jokes about this a few times. I made the jokes when we were doing our mock draft, but I don't see picking a punter in the 4th round. So the fact that, I mean, I know that we discussed about how the Bears needed a better punter, and this guy, I do like, I believe he was one of the best punters in college, because he regularly hit within 5 yards. Like, when you pin that team back in 5-yard territory, that is great for your defense, great for your offense. If you need to punt, this is the guy you want punting for you. But I don't know. The Bears picking him at, oh my God, the Bears picking him at the 4th round. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a reach. It definitely tells me that they've got some stuff in the pipeline, because they didn't take any of the defensive players that are available. They didn't take anything. They didn't touch the defense at all this draft. So there's definitely something working that there's no way they're just going to sit back and accept that they were good last year and they don't need to improve at all. Like, we only added a couple of pieces so far. We need to add some more to really make a big impact. So the Texans just took Cade Stover, the tight end from Ohio State. Cade Stover. For some reason, they're showing him like massaging a cow. Okay, now they're showing his highlights. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Houston's are definitely increasing their targets that CJ Stroud can throw to. That's for sure. I don't really know any teams that would be wanting to go face the Texans next year. Their offense is going to be a pretty stout, stacked team there. So now we're on to pick 124. Guess we'll get that after the commercials are over. I guess they gotta make some money somehow, I guess. I don't know. I really just don't know. They better have some plans on what they need to do going forward, because you don't pick a punter in the 4th round of the draft unless you already have your other areas kind of locked up. Because with the way that our offense is looking, I hope we don't have to punt it all season. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I don't know. I'm shocked at this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you want to go ahead and send one my way. Okay, San Francisco is making their selection now. Pick number 124. The one thing that I will say that with the Bears picking that punter, we've trusted Poles this far. I'm curious at this point, but San Francisco selects Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest, the safety out of Wake Forest. Okay. But yeah, I mean we've trusted in Ryan Poles at this point. He's hit on a lot of his players that he's drafted. He's found some good talent in late rounds that have become good starters. So I don't know, something sometimes he doesn't hit, like Velus Jones Jr. or we also had the Chase Claypool trade. Sometimes things don't go his way, but I'm gonna keep trusting in him. He's our guy. He's building the team that he feels can win for us. The Tampa Bay pick at number 125 is running back Bucky Irving from Oregon. Okay. They're saying comparison is Devin Singletary. Okay. Based on his highlight footage, seems a bit shorter than some of the other guys. But guess we'll see how things go for him. Congratulations, Bucky Irving, I guess. Okay, the Detroit Lions have traded up a few picks. Now they are on the clock making their pick at 126. I'd be interested to see who the Lions pick, because so far they've only taken 2 cornerbacks. That's it. Wondering if they're going to take an offensive player in this pick. Don't trade up, giving away next year's 3rd round pick for a 3rd defensive player, unless that's what you absolutely need to fill. They did earlier this week, maybe it was last week, they did sign their star wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to a very lucrative 4-year contract extension. So they're gearing up for the future, that's for sure. They're looking towards locking some pieces down that they need to keep being competitive. They want to make sure they're not just one of those 1-year flash in the pan. They come out and surprise everybody and then disappear right away. Don't really know anybody from Colorado. So, nope, not going to answer that call. Okay. I can't wait till the Bears are hosting NFL draft or Super Bowl. That's one of the things with this new stadium deal that they just announced is building that new stadium, building the whole thing that they're building up. It could be a great venue, and with it being an indoor stadium, if I remember what I read, that would make it possible, because as much as us Bears fans love our snow games, stuff like that, the fact that we live in Chicago and get snow means that if we don't have a closed stadium, we wouldn't be hosting a Super Bowl anytime soon. They don't want the snow being a factor in the Super Bowl, it seems like. So very, very interested to see what the Bears may end up coming their way with this new stadium. Okay. Lions pick is coming in. So okay, 700,000 people attended the 2024 NFL draft, which is a new draft record. Okay. Giovanni Manu, an offensive tackle from British Columbia, Canada. I believe they just said that he is the first international player taken this draft. I don't know about you guys, but I think that the NFC North is shaping up to be one hell of a division next year. This is going to be pretty crazy next year. Philadelphia Eagles select running back Will Shipley from Clemson. Buffalo Bills at 128 just selected running back Ray Davis from Kentucky. San Francisco just traded up to get another pick. So the 49ers selection is in. Pick 129 that they traded up for. Isaac Guerendo from Louisville, the running back. Okay. Not that they necessarily need a running back, but you definitely want to have depth, even at the positions where you clearly have a future Hall of Famer at that position. So one of the things that I was looking at is the fact that there was some people discussing about the new punter for the Chicago Bears. And the way they brought it in was any defensive edge rusher or defensive lineman that you pick in this 4th round, chances are they're going to be fighting for a spot to start. With this draft pick, the punter that we got, he is a guaranteed starter. Our punting was atrocious last year. And when I was watching Iowa games on Saturday and then watching Bear games on Sunday, and I went from watching a team whose offense couldn't really move the ball, but their defense kept them in it and won them a very good number of their games with their defense strictly because of the fact that their special teams put them in a very good position every time that their offense couldn't get down to score. If you get them within the 5 every single time, imagine how many safeties you can get. Imagine how much pressure you can add knowing they can't scramble around and run out the back. They're backed up into the end zone basically. That's a tough get for so getting a new punter is, as much as it was not the biggest need, it definitely was a need that not as many people were really looking at. Okay, the Kansas City Chiefs took the tight end Jared Wiley from TCU. At this rate, it looks like they're bulking up on some targets for some more targets for Patrick Mahomes, because they already got one of the best tight ends in the league. And I don't really care how you feel about the guy personally or whatever. Statistically and like as a player on the field, he is one of the best players in the league as far as tight ends are concerned. Maybe even one of the best. I mean, he's going to be in that conversation for one of the best of all time when his career is said and done. So honestly, that's a good pickup. Having a tight end that Kelce is getting into his later years in his career, if he decides to retire, who better to train the next iteration of your star tight end than Travis Kelce? That's just smart on their part to get somebody to come in and kind of learn from. And so that way, when Kelce leaves, there isn't as big of a transitional period. So, looks like these Detroit Lions just traded up again. They look like they're gearing up because they didn't have very many picks earlier in this draft. They had 2 of them in the first 3 rounds. It looks like. So they're trying to make this 4th round kind of cover for that. Detroit fans there in Detroit are very happy about this because it's more fun for them to cheer for the Detroit picks. I feel like they have just as much fun though when any of the rivals of Detroit get up there to pick, because they were booing the Vikings, they were booing the Packers, they were booing the Bears, and they were booing the 49ers guys when they went up there to pick too. I think it's still a little fresh, that wound that after getting beat in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers and the Detroit Lions. I feel like that wound is still a bit fresh, that they were definitely booing anytime the 49ers got up there to pick. I don't know. Maybe it does seem like a fun atmosphere. So who knows? Maybe we can convince Wes to come out too. Fly up, and all three of us will go to Green Bay and be there for the NFL draft. I don't know. Would be a lot of fun. Would be really cool to do a show from there. Okay, the Detroit Lions are up to pick again. They took the safeties, Sion Vaki out of Utah. He says that he's a safety / running back. Coming to Detroit, he'll probably end up playing safety because their running back room is pretty secure from what I've seen. So up next is Kansas City Chiefs, pick 133. They've made their call in. We'll just wait for that announcement shortly. Oh, pretty quick. They're moving today along a lot quicker than the last 2 days. Jaden Hicks, the safety out of Washington State. Don't really know much about some of these defensive backs because, to be quite honest, we only did our research on the on the players that on the positions that the Bears had a significant need for. And when we addressed the safety in the offseason and the cornerbacks cornerback was fine. And then we signed Jalen Johnson to his big deal. Kind of got to that point where, you know what? We don't really have a need to look into those players for the draft because they weren't going to be players that we were going to be picking. Or at the very least, they weren't players that we expected we would need based on what our needs actually are. So up next, we have the New York Jets, pick number 134. Interested to see who the Jets pick. And then after that will be San Francisco to close out round 4. Oh, that means we still got 3 more rounds. I'm not sure I'm going to be sticking around until the very end, but as for now, still going to stick around for a bit longer. Probably do this next round 5. And don't forget to tune in. We're probably going to have our show later today. We're going to have our normal. Oh, the Jets pick running back Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Pretty sure that Mark Robb probably knows who that is. I sure don't, because I don't remember us looking too much into the running back situation. Last year we had a plethora of running backs and didn't even use them all until we had injuries. I'm looking at you, Deontay Foreman. Definitely somebody that I feel like we didn't utilize to his potential. And then when injuries came, he came in and did very well, but it was on a 1-year deal, and hopefully that ended up getting him another contract. So far, the Jets, all of their picks have gone towards the offense. They've taken an offensive tackle, Olu Fashanu, at the 11th pick. That was I believe that was the player that Caleb said that if we were, I think he was being asked about if we were going to be drafting, that would be a player he would enjoy working with because he would protect him with his life. So they also picked up a wide receiver, and now they got a running back. So now we got another 49ers pick. They select wide receiver Jacob Cowing from Arizona. Not the first wide receiver they've taken. Their wide receiver room is getting pretty full. Next, we're going into the Seattle pick at 136, but I guess they'll take a quick commercial break before that pick comes through. First pick of the 5th round. And at this point, if you guys are interested, I'll stick around and kind of tell you what the picks are, give my reactions to them. But at this point, unless the Bears trade in, we are not getting another pick this year. So who knows what might happen. So the offensive coordinator that we got, he helped Geno Smith to throw 3,600 passing yards last year. So if he can come in and he can run a similar style offense with a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who knows? Oh, the Seahawks pick at 136 is cornerback Nehemiah Pritchett from Auburn. I guess they're going to just start doing the picks while they're in the commercials now. Was not expecting that pick to come in while they're on commercial break. Must be that the 5th round is when they start doing that. Now they're going over some 5th round picks, and one of them is George Kittle, one of the better tight ends in the league. And then we have Puka Nacua from the LA Rams. He had a great rookie season last year. So there's still some players to be had in this 5th round. Next up is the LA Chargers at 137. Let's see what Harbaugh does at this pick. I say Harbaugh because at this point, all of us know when it comes to like draft day, Jim Harbaugh is pretty much leading things. Like he wanted, that was one of the biggest things that he wanted when he was at San Francisco, was like he wanted to basically have a lot more player control, which a lot of times is the GM's job, but working closely with that head coach, who knows? Maybe he wanted to have a bigger say and the final say, maybe. Chargers are hoping that getting Jim Harbaugh makes them a contender this year. But they've kind of blown up their team a little bit, so it may take a year before they really get to that spot where they're a dangerous team. Only time will tell at this point, I guess. Right now, they're talking about the fact that the quarterback Spencer Rattler is still on the board from University of South Carolina, the Gamecocks over there. And he was also, if the name sounds a little familiar, he was the quarterback at Oklahoma when Caleb went into Oklahoma. I'm not entirely sure if Caleb beat him out or if he left because he didn't want to compete with anybody. So he went to a team that didn't have another quarterback that needed one. So it does look like the Chargers just picked the cornerback Tarib Still from Maryland. Okay. He was one of the he was 2023 All Big Ten team. 6 interceptions, 22 pass breakups in his career, in his college career there. They're still talking about Spencer Rattler up there in the booth, though. And honestly, there's still some teams out there, I think, that he could go to. He had 3,186 pass yards in 2023. He's not going to be your franchise amazing quarterback, but if, for example, I know we discussed a couple times maybe about the Raiders that they have a quarterback need, and he could be a player that you bring in maybe this year if you can get him in maybe late 5th or 6th round. You bring him in, he at least makes some competition. I know that's what the Raiders at least were talking about, was having a competition for their quarterback position. They were talking about getting somebody in free agency, having Aiden O'Connell, and trying to trade up and draft somebody like Jane Daniels and having them all compete. I feel like you give up way too much by doing all of that. But at the end of the day, you get the best product then. But if you trade up and get Jaden Daniels and he isn't your starter, then you just gave up your future for nothing. So, I don't know. They decided not to do that, or at the very least, Washington and New England decided they weren't going to trade out of that spot. So right now, Las Vegas, if they want a quarterback, they're going to have to take from what's available at this point, which very well, with the additions that they've added, very well could be some players out there that could really help them. Definitely would be work in progresses. Some project players to kind of go the Green Bay route, where you sit them for a couple years or something, letting them learn and getting them accustomed to the speed of the game. But I don't know. You definitely don't want to pull the Atlanta Falcons, where they go ahead and draft a young quarterback the same year that they sign a veteran quarterback. You want to draft the player like towards the tail end of that veteran player's contract. So the Arizona Cardinals pick up the defensive edge Xavier Thomas from Clemson. Arizona is going to definitely have a lot of players to cut. And honestly, that would be something interesting for the Bears. They're the players that get cut from Arizona that maybe the Bears saw something in that fit them better. Because sometimes you don't get cut from a team just because you weren't a good player. Sometimes it's just that you do not fit what that team wants to run. So the Bears definitely are going to be looking at a lot of these players all over the league that get cut through training camps and stuff like that. See if maybe they can sign one of them to very low deals. See if they can kind of work with them. Who knows? Okay, now we're on to the Washington pick at 139, round 5. Washington has got Jane Daniels, Jer'Zhan Newton. He was a hell of a pickup for them. They got the cornerback from Michigan, and they got a tight end from Kansas State University. And they also got a guard from TCU and wide receiver Luke McCaffrey from Rice, younger brother of Christian McCaffrey. I don't know. This draft has not played out how some people thought it would, at least in the beginning. There are definitely some players that were expected to go in the first round that dropped a lot further. One of the biggest ones to me is JPJ from Oregon, the center. One of the highest projected centers in the draft. I think that numerous times I saw him going in maybe the top 20, sometimes top 15 maybe, at the very least the top 25. He went number 44 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. Definitely a huge improvement for them. I didn't even know if center was a big need for him, but okay, the Washington pick is in here. Washington picked the linebacker Jordan McGee from Temple. Ha ha. They're showing some of the crew members and stuff around, and okay. They seem to be having some fun right now. Okay, if you're just joining us now, the Chicago Bears in their 4th round pick at 122, they drafted the punter Tory Taylor from Iowa. And when I first saw that, it shocked the hell out of me. And I know it shocked you guys too, because it was not regularly discussed as a prominent need for Chicago. But at the end of the day, when you look into it, turns out it really was a big need. And being an Iowa fan, I watched his games. He was a big part of them winning as many games as they did last year. And they beat teams that they had no reason to beat. They went all the way to the Big Ten championship. They had a very easy schedule. I will admit that. But they went to the Big Ten championship, got just killed by Michigan. But they went there with a offense that could not score, could not move down the field. And the biggest reason that Iowa went that far was due to the fact that their special teams, their punter, got their defense into favorable positions, pushed back the opposing offense, and then their defense was very strong and just easily just pushed them back and didn't give up any space. When they went up against the Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan Wolverines there, they did not make it. They did not even score on Michigan. But as we're seeing in this draft, Michigan has had 8 players drafted so far. Michigan was a stacked team filled with NFL players, and Iowa had 3 players drafted so far, and one of them was their punter. So I'm not as skeptical about this pick as some people might be. I think that this pick might actually be a good thing. He is going to be a for sure day one starter for the Chicago Bears compared to any other pick that we could get at this position. Maybe they get him, maybe they won't. Who knows? But I'm still thinking that there's something that Ryan Poles is cooking up. Something that Ryan Poles is cooking up, because he will not leave that defensive edge just out there in the wind. So you better stay tuned with us, because we are definitely going to be covering whatever it is that he's got going. So the Chargers at pick 140, they have drafted Cam Hart, the cornerback from Notre Dame. For some reason, though, they're showing Xavier Thomas, the edge from Clemson. I think he was picked a few rounds back. Or not a few rounds, about 5 or 6 picks back. So right now, the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. They have about a minute and a half, just under a minute and a half left to pick at 141. Interesting, because of the fact that so far it has been a while since there has been a team that had not already picked by the time they got to their graphic. Okay, so their pick is coming in. They've drafted a wide receiver, a safety, I think a defensive end, and then I missed the last one. Might want to get another wide receiver, but we'll see what they do. Because they got one wide receiver, but one wide receiver might not replace Stephon Diggs. So, and oh geez, they traded Stephon Diggs and 2 picks to the Texans in exchange for the Texans 2025 second round pick. That was one heck of a trade as far as Texans are concerned. There he is. Cedric Van Pran Granger from Georgia, the center that I have been talking about. He is going to be a Buffalo Bill. Definitely a player that I thought could potentially be a pick for the Bears. But at this point, I've already kind of made my peace with it. I know that Ryan Poles knows what he's doing. it's sometimes the shock that comes with a pick you weren't expecting. The shock comes from the fact that, and the fear comes from the fact that we have often not been able to trust our general manager to make good decisions. And most of the things that I feel like Ryan Poles has done, he has done well. Ha 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 ha. They said that it's never happened that a team has been taken a quarterback first overall and taken a punter in the same draft. Apparently, Tory Taylor has already gotten a text from Caleb Williams saying, "You're not going to punt very much." And to be quite honest with you, I'm fine with that. Punting happens. It's a part of the game. If you can limit how much punting you get, that's great. But if you can't guarantee that, you want to have a punter that at least puts your defense in a good position. I think that the punter that we drafted gives some pretty good some pretty good feelings about, and some pretty good help to the defense. Think about the defense going in there, and we have them backed all the way back to their 5-10 yard line. That will give the defense amazing confidence about, we don't have much that we have to do. They have to march the entire length of the field. So now it looks like the Indianapolis Colts pick number 142. Let's see where they decide to pick. Because over the offseason, they added Joe Flacco as a backup to Anthony Richardson. And I think that was a great move. Joe Flacco definitely was a phenomenal player when he basically walked into the Cleveland organization and helped propel them into, if I remember correctly, into a playoff spot. One of the first for quite a while for them. Indianapolis Colts select Anthony Gould, wide receiver from Oregon State. He had 2 punt returns for a touchdown. Apparently that was tied for the second most in FBS, in the FBS last year. Which is surprising, but they've gotten themselves a couple wide receivers and a couple offensive linemen, including the center, the Bordellini from Wisconsin, and they got themselves an edge early on. They were the ones that drafted the very first defensive player of the draft when they drafted Latu from UCLA. Okay, the Atlanta Falcons, 143. Their pick is in. Let's see what they've decided to go with. because so far it's been kind of a crapshoot on what they go for. They went for Michael Penix Jr., which shocked the world. They got Braylon Trice, which shocked Wes. For sure pissed him off. They got Brandon Dorlus, the defensive tackle from, I believe, Oregon. I was reading it as they took it away. But Atlanta, they seem to be poised and making moves to make a big run right now. They signed Kirk Cousins. They brought in Darnell Mooney. As much as I wasn't his biggest fan, I understand that he had his good moments while he was here. And yeah, there's some cornerbacks. There's still a couple of edges up there in the top 200 that one of these sportscasters had made his list. There's still 89th ranked player. I can't even remember who that one was at the top, but I think it was a tackle. 89th ranked player that still available at this 143rd pick. Honestly, if I were Atlanta and you're worried about your quarterback getting hurt, rather than drafting another quarterback, why not just go ahead and add offensive linemen? I mean, that seems like it would be a good thing to add, right? You know? But hey, that's our old buddy Ryan Pace is up there in the war room. One of the assistants to the GM, not the top GM, but he's I believe he's I think Wes said something about the president of personnel or something. Holy crap, Chicago traded up. Chicago has another pick. Oh my God, guys. I was just looking down at the counter and Chicago is the next pick. Atlanta Falcons selected linebacker J.D. Bertrand from Notre Dame. Just had to go and hop in and let Wes and Mark Robb know that Chicago has another pick. Now I only wonder what we gave away to get that pick. Guess we'll find out, but the Bears are on the clock with the 144th pick. Bear down. Wow. Honestly, at this point, if there's an edge that they're going to grab, I feel like that would make everybody happy. Just show that you understand that it is a problem area. I was not expecting this, guys. Chicago trading back into the draft. I was going to go look up on Twitter maybe to see what they traded, but I don't want to be spoiled if Twitter already has their pick. Chicago Bears traded up to get another pick in this draft. Shocked. Shocked is what I'm thinking. I am so glad I decided to stick around with you guys today because I was ready to give up after the 4th round, thinking they'd already made what when they took the punter in the 4th round that told me that they felt like they weren't. And they take Austin Booker, the edge from Kansas. Chicago Bears. Very, very nice. Now I got to go look up some. He was the first team All Big 12 for 2023. He was on that team. He got that honor of being on that team. He had 8 sacks, 12 tackles for loss in 2023. He's not the guy that it seems like he's going to jump off the page, but he was the Big 12 Defensive Newcomer of the Year. He transferred over to the Big 12 from Minnesota. Wow. He is he's going to be a good player to have there to grow and mold into how we need him. Definitely going to be looking into, one, what they gave up to get him, because I'm very curious to find out. So the Bills, all they did was the Bills got a 2025 4th round pick. That's all we gave up to come in. Wow. Chicago Bears doing what they need to do. Like I said, I still think they have something in the works, but getting this edge pickup, definitely what I like to hear. Whew. That was so Denver at pick 145. They end up getting Chris Abrams Drain from Missouri, the cornerback. Wow. Guys, I'm still shocked here. I was not expecting the Chicago Bears to trade the 4th round pick from next year for the 5th round this year, go up and get an edge. I'm listening to them talk, and they're basically saying about this guy that they were surprised. Everybody was surprised that he came out of school this year and declared for the draft. They were expecting him to go back to school for next year. And if he continued on this trend line and then came out of school next year, they were thinking he could be a late 1st round, early 2nd round pick next year. He is a developmental player that, honestly, if the Bears can start developing him now, who knows what type of player he could be next year just through the experience of playing on the Chicago Bears and getting some reps in, working with Montez Sweat, getting a feel for it, and really just getting an idea of the speed of this game. Definitely a good player, I think, for us to grab. At this point, there is nobody that should be disappointed in the way this draft worked out. Because we got the players we needed to fill the holes that we had, including a hole that nobody really was talking about. this is how you win at the draft, my guys. This is how you win. You go out there, you get your generational quarterback of the future, quarterback of right now with Caleb Williams. Then you go out there and you use your 9th pick and grab a stud wide receiver. Then you grab yourself a couple of guys. You get yourself an offensive lineman who he's going to be a work in progress. That's for sure. But then you come through with picking a punter and confusing the heck out of everybody. You pick a punter, and then people start to think about it and realize, wait a minute, our punter sucked. We definitely needed an upgrade. Now we got one. And he's got some pretty good records that he's broken. Most punting yards ever in a career, if I remember correctly. He regularly down teams in the 5 yards or less. I mean, that is demoralizing as an offense when you go out there and you are backed up into your own end zone and you are hiking it into your end zone because of the amazing punt that just happened against you. I know it's not the flashy play out there, but wow, that then when you're sitting there thinking, okay, you had a decent draft, then you go in and trade in with the 4th round pick from next year, which, let's be honest, 4th round pick, it's not like it's a crazy thing to give up. And you go and draft a player that you're going to develop into an edge rusher. Definitely a good idea. Very excited for this team and excited to see what else they do, because at the way things are going, definitely think that there's more that they're planning on doing. Okay, so the Tennessee Titans at pick 146 just picked cornerback Javaris Brownlee Jr. from Louisville. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. from Louisville. Okay. Denver is back on the clock at 147. They got about a minute 43 left. After that, we go with Las Vegas, Cincinnati, New Orleans. Haven't seen a New Orleans pick for quite some time. Indianapolis, Philadelphia. There are definitely some teams that have a lot of picks this draft, and definitely some teams that have no picks this draft. So right now, they're looking at the QBs that have been drafted so far. It's still only just those 6, but they said that it's very interesting because so far we have drafted the most quarterbacks in the first round, and then now we have had the longest drought for quarterbacks since the last quarterback was picked, because the last quarterback that was picked was Denver at pick 12. So now they're talking about, other than Caleb, who's in a good situation. They're talking about J.J. McCarthy. Unfortunately, I'd have to agree. He walks in and he is with one of the best receivers in the NFL right now. A player that can make him look even better. But I have to say, Denver did well because they drafted Bo Nix from Oregon. And then after they did that, later on in the draft, they drafted Troy Franklin, wide receiver from Oregon. Definitely something that I was interested in. So right now, Denver is picking their next pick. They've added 2 wide receivers, a guard, defensive tackle, linebacker. See, that's one of the things that some of these teams, like especially like the Arizona Cardinals and the Denver Broncos, they're building themselves up something right now. They may not be ready next year, okay? The Bears look like they're trying to push towards next year being a year that they're competitive. But teams like the Denver Broncos or the Arizona Cardinals, they're looking at, okay, this year we get the picks. Give us 1 to 2 years and we'll really come into our own. Now, the only difference with the Arizona Cardinals is they have Marvin Harrison Jr. Like he is going to be a great wide receiver for them. So he could help them really take that next step anyways. So the Denver pick is now in. They drafted Audric Estime from Notre Dame, a running back. He led the team in rushing yards each of the last 2 seasons. And I kind of get the feeling from them that Notre Dame is more of a rushing team than a passing team. That kind of is the vibe that I get from Notre Dame. But then again, Notre Dame had Joe Alt. So that could be a reason as to why he did so well. But now we're on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Pick number 148. Their pick is in. They'll announce it in just a little bit. Okay. Las Vegas took the linebacker Tommy Eichenberg from Ohio State. Okay. Going on to their defensive side. Butkus Fitzgerald, 2023 Big Ten Linebacker of the Year. 2-time first team All Big Ten, 2022 and 2023. From Ohio State, one of the only team they didn't beat, if I remember correctly, in their season was when they lost to Michigan. They kind of ended their season. Cincinnati, their pick at 149 is in. For those of you just joining us, we had a trade up, or I guess trade in, because the Bears were out of picks after they picked the punter, Tory Taylor from Iowa, with that 4th round pick. They traded in. They used the 4th round pick from next year to trade into the pick 144. And with it, they drafted the edge Austin Booker out of Kansas. And based on what they were saying in the sportscasters, and I will do my own research later because he was not somebody that was on my radar, but based on what they were saying, everybody expected him to go next year into the draft. So they were all, and next year, if he proceeded to play the way that he has been, he was going to be a late first round, early second round pick, was where they were projecting him to go. The fact that we got him for a fourth round pick next year, I feel like that was a steal. You will not be able to get him in the fourth round next year. So we basically traded out of that spot to be able to grab him in the fifth round this year. And he is going to be a player that we end up needing to develop a little bit more. That 1 year extra of development in college, that will be on us now, as the Chicago Bears need to develop him into the type of player that they want. But see, when you aren't fully developed and you have to be developed up a little bit more, to me, that's a good thing. Like, you have the ability now to develop them into the exact player that you want. And I have this feeling that Matt Eberflus was right there saying, we need to go get this guy, Austin Booker. He's still there. See what you can try and do about trading back into the draft to get him. Now, I don't expect any more trades, but I will stick around quite a bit longer at this point, because I was not expecting any trades to come in the fifth round. And it looks like the Cincinnati Bengals have selected cornerback Josh Newton from TCU. He had 8 pass breakups in each of his last 3 seasons, 8+. So 35 total in his career. He played at TCU and Louisiana Monroe. He's had 7 interceptions in his career, 152 tackles. So let's see how that guy does when he goes to Cincinnati. Josh Newton. Hey, some of these players at this point in the draft, they will not be making teams. They may end up making practice teams. They may end up getting cut during off-season workouts and training camps and stuff like that. But it's fun to watch these areas of the draft, because you never know when you get an absolute steal of a player. And if Wes were here, he would have a whole list of players that in his mind were better than most of the ones that have already been selected. He was very high on some players that just recently got picked. He knows what he's talking about when he looks into these players. He's busy doing some working today so he's unable to join us at this time. He may be tuned in, watching from wherever he's at working, but sure hope he's happy about how the Bears have been. I definitely expect at some point soon to get a text from him, get a message from him, how upset he is about picking a punter. Probably was not on his list of things that the Bears needed. Definitely wasn't on my list, but it definitely should have been. And if you're going to pick a punter, you pick Tory Taylor. He is that guy when it comes to punting. So the 150th pick is in for the New Orleans Saints. Let's see who they pick.
With the 150th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Spencer Rattler.
They picked up Spencer Rattler, the first QB taken since the 12th pick of the draft. Spencer Rattler, the quarterback from South Carolina. He may sound familiar. One, we've talked about him a little bit earlier in the draft, in this show here, because of the fact that he was projected to be the best QB still available. But Spencer Rattler is also the quarterback that was there at Oklahoma when Caleb Williams first got there. And he ended up leaving to go to South Carolina. He had 5 games with 300 plus yards, passing yards in 2023. One of the criticisms that I've seen for him is that sometimes he tries to get a little bit cute He tries to get a little bit fancy and tries to do a little bit too much and may make some poor decisions. But he makes some good decisions too. He had he definitely is a player to maybe be a perennial backup with the potential of getting into a starting role somewhere. But Spencer Rattler, pick 150, New Orleans Saints. Definitely thought there was going to be another team that would try to take him. But
hoping you get a starter, but you're comfortable. This guy ends up being a backup. Do you see starting quarterback potential with Spencer Rattler? You know, that's important. Though, no guy in the right situation. Very similar. Not saying he's going to be wrong for it, but very similar to how Brock Purdy can ball. Right situation, right crew around him. The system kind of works for himself.
okay. I can see that. They're talking about how in the right situation, he might be the type of player that could develop into a specific type of quarterback that is beneficial to a team. He could easily become that starting quarterback if he develops the proper way. And I agree. Like he doesn't jump off the page, shoot off the page at me, but there are definitely some good things I see about him. And hey, picking him at the 150th pick, at that point, you're okay if he ends up just being a backup quarterback. The Indianapolis Colts select Jalen Carlisle from Missouri at safety. 9 interceptions in his career. Okay, not too bad, but definitely needs to get a little bit. I mean, he may not be the type of ball hawk type of safety that they're looking for. So Indianapolis just got themselves a new safety. Very, very interesting pick. Not really. I mean, we're in the 5th round here. The interesting picks are the ones that they, for some reason, they've dropped, and now they're here and a better player. Next up, we have Philadelphia Eagles. Pick 152. I'm already happy about the Eagles because they ended up picking Iowa cornerback Cooper DeJean. He's a player that I would love to see excel. And to be quite honest, I'm glad that he didn't go to the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles traded up and jumped right in front of them to take him, and they traded down right away. Is what with the fact that they're a division rival and the fact that I am a Iowa fan, I'm tired of seeing Iowa players going to other teams in the division. But at the same time, I'm also looking forward to Tory Taylor, our new punter from Iowa. By the way, guys, I did get a text from Mark Robb. He is aware of what's going on. He is also very shocked about the fact that we picked a punter. But he definitely seemed happy about us trading back into the draft to go up and get a edge rusher. Okay, they're saying that the Eagles pick is in. Now we're just waiting for them to tell us who it is. At this point, I don't really see a reason to make us wait after the pick is in. There's no real reason unless you have somebody that you want to send out to that podium.
Here's look at TJ's best available right now. Christian Jones has been sticking around here for a while. If you're looking at TJ's value,
Christian Jones is for Daniel Jeremiah's best available. I don't know who Daniel Jeremiah is. He's one of the sportscasters. Christian Jones, the tackle from Texas. He is projected as the 55th best player still available, and we are at pick 152. So Malik Washington from University of Virginia, wide receiver, is still available. There is definitely some players that are still available that they could make a very good case to being picked by some of these later teams. I'm of that mind right now that I don't want to see any of them picked up by any of our division rivals. I feel like our division is already going to be tough. You know, our division is going to be difficult as it is. I am definitely ready to be done with dealing with our division. It's actually kind of interesting to watch, though, because they're showing the players that the Philadelphia Eagles have lost this year. And one of them is Swift, who is now a running back for the Chicago Bears. And the other one is Kevin Byard, who is now a safety for the Chicago Bears. And they definitely are upgrading their backfield for their defense. Their defensive backs there, because they added 2 cornerbacks. Those were their first 2 picks of this draft. Let's see who they pick now. Ainias Smith, wide receiver from Texas A&M. Okay. Getting themselves some more options on wide receiver. I mean, that's a position that you can draft somebody late and they can still be that type of player that you need them to be a third string wide receiver that they can check all your boxes. I mean, at this late in the draft, there are players at just about every position that you could find, and those players go on to success. When we first entered the 5th round, they made a point in bringing up George Kittle, one of the top tight ends of the league, the tight end from San Francisco 49ers. Although he maybe didn't show up as much during the Super Bowl as people would have hoped, he is still one of the biggest weapons that they have for Brock Purdy, big ass target, and by the way, he went to Iowa, and he was picked in the 5th round. Then you have Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft. Some of these players, when you pick them up, if you know how to develop them, if you know how to really scout talent, these late picks aren't as like throwaway as they would be for other teams. When you get later into the draft, you definitely need to find those diamonds in the rough. Hopefully the Bears have done that with their edge rusher that they just grabbed. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, pick 153. They took the cornerback from Ole Miss, Deontre Prince. Jacksonville seems to have a decent number of picks this draft as well. But then we look at, for example, the Saints, and I feel like I've seen the Saints probably about 3 picks. 3 picks is not very many so far. But then again, the Bears only had 5 so far, and that's all they have at all. So the Los Angeles Rams have sent in their pick for pick 154. Up next, we have Indianapolis, Cleveland, Carolina, Miami, Kansas City, Buffalo, Washington, another Arizona pick, another Buffalo pick there, Philadelphia, Baltimore. Follow that up later on. We'll have 2 Green Bay picks back to back. We'll see what they decide to do, I guess. Okay. LA Rams have drafted the edge rusher, Brennan Jackson from Washington State. Definitely a player that I don't know. I just feel like edge rusher is a very important position. Even if you don't necessarily get the cream of the crop, you need to have something there. Something that they know they can really get after that quarterback, because if you give that quarterback the way these quarterbacks are these days, if you give them time. Oh, looks like Philadelphia traded up. Philadelphia, pick 155. They just made a pick 3 picks ago. So who do they pick this time? Wow. Philadelphia picks up linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. from Clemson. The guy who came out was very, very hyped up to be here, though. Talking about how him and his family came from Philadelphia, came 9 hours to be in Detroit. And I'm sitting here wondering, what route did they take? I have a feeling that it's a long drive, I think, from Philadelphia to Detroit, but I didn't think it was a 9-hour drive. But I mean, also kind of makes you wonder if they invited him out there, why did they fly him out there, or why wouldn't they fly him out from Philadelphia? Who knows? It's been an interesting day for us Bears fans. Went on a little bit of a roller coaster when we saw that the fourth round pick ended up being our punter, is who we were drafting, and confused the hell out of a lot of people here. But very excited here. While we're waiting, I might as well go ahead and show a clip, our Caleb Williams hype video, because we all trying to still stay hyped. We got a long off season ahead of us, but right now it feels real.
And, I tend to, create history and rewrite history.
Stepped onto a college football field as a freshman at Oklahoma, down 28-7 against Texas in the biggest rivalry game in the country, leads them on a comeback.
It generally never happens where a quarterback that I evaluate is excellent in all 5 categories that I'm trying to evaluate him.
We were hired to break a cycle. The same thing when I was in Kansas City. Coach Reed, all of us were brought there to break a cycle.
It's good that this quarterback is different, because what's never different is the result every single time you play the Packers. And I'll tell you what's weird. You know what's the weirdest thing about Caleb? That he's going to be a Bears quarterback who is actually good.
Yeah. It's church. Hey. Feel like a king, feel like a god. I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top. These niggas looking so sloppy. I know he wish he could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga. There is nobody else like me. Feel like a king, feel like a god. I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top. These niggas looking so sloppy. I know they wish they could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga. There is nobody else like me. Refuse to lose, my nigga. I wake up and I gotta get to a check. Determined to go be the best. I've been so hungry, I'm working till I'm out of breath. Remember the days I was starving, they wonder why I gotta flex. Every day I'm taking steps to make sure my family's set. Ballin' like a hot and I'm stirring the pot like a chef. You niggas don't get no airtime. Free all the niggas on fair time. Bitch, I been going so hard, you was thinking LeBron when he ain't have a hairline. Too many thinking it's their time, but I think you losing your damn mind. While I just been patiently waiting, the beast has awakened, I need to go get mine. Just watch how I do it, I can't be talking, I gotta go prove it. People to hate, but it only influence me to be better. You mad cause you lose it. I know my purpose to live in this music. I won't give up, I got too much to lose, I got too much to prove. Nigga who dropped out of school, come back and stun on the people who doubted my move. Feel like a king, feel like a god, I don't think no one can stop me. I'm on my way straight to the top, these niggas looking so sloppy. I know he wish he could copy, but that little boy is just not me. I am a one of a kind, nigga, there is nobody else like me.
So it looks like the Cleveland Browns have selected wide receiver Jamari Thrash from Louisville. I mean, there definitely are some players that you wanna get some more wide receivers from this deep wide receiver draft. There's definitely some players out there that could surprise you. Looking at the top 200 best available right now, decent number of safeties, tight ends, tackles, cornerbacks, edge, bunch of stuff. So the Carolina pick is in at 157. Let's see who it is. They have had 4 picks so far. So they're on track to have okay number of players picked, but they definitely wish they had that number 1 from us. Oof. Carolina has had 1 winning season since losing the Super Bowl in 2015. Losing the Super Bowl, is that what they said? They are still riding this international train here, and I love to see it. I love to see players from or fans from all around the world excited about their team. Charles Smith Wade, Washington State, cornerback. Hey, some of these players probably most of us never heard of, but it's great to see some of these players out here getting into the league and getting drafted because, heck, not everybody gets drafted. TJ Edwards, the linebacker for Chicago Bears right now, he wasn't drafted. He went undrafted. He worked his way back. He worked hard and worked his way into the Eagles, got onto their defense, and became a very, very solid, strong player. Love that guy. But it's great to see a lot of these players that are getting drafted because they're taking that next step in their career. Good to see. Next up at the 158th pick is the Miami Dolphins. Miami selects an edge, Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State. If I remember that name correctly, I feel like it's something that somebody we were looking at, or somebody that at least was on the board in some of our mock drafts. Because some of us, not me, but some of us had plenty of extra picks to play with. I, on the other hand, had 4 picks like we did normally. Heck, even the Bears this year had more picks to play with than I did. Okay. Kansas City is picking at 159. Up next, we have Buffalo, Washington, Arizona, Buffalo again, Indianapolis, Baltimore, Giants, Jaguars, and then 2 picks back-to-back for Green Bay. So if there is, and then following that, 2 picks back-to-back for Philadelphia. Oh, with a pick from New Orleans Saints in between. Wait a second. I think something just changed. Okay, I guess we'll find out when that pick comes up. But if there is somebody that wants to jump Green Bay, they'd have to jump up to Jacksonville to be able to pass them up. Kansas City Chiefs pick Hunter Nourzad, center from Penn State. Started 41 of his 44 career games. Going to be a good addition to depth for their team, it looks like. Buffalo is picking at 160. Their pick is in. And for those of you who have joined us so far today, we will be going live later this afternoon, probably, for a show about the draft in general. And if you guys haven't been following us, that show is definitely going to speak to what we think and our opinions and maybe make some predictions of how things are going to go. Because we've been making some predictions so far, but up until Thursday night, we could not guarantee one way or the other what was going to happen. Now we all know. Caleb Williams is our quarterback, and Rome Odunze is our new wide receiver. Okay. It looks like Buffalo has picked Edufan Olufosio. Ulofosio. Something like that. If you guys could see this name, you would understand why I'm having some trouble. But he is from Washington. Yet another pick for Washington. So that makes Washington, I believe, tied with Michigan for 8 players that have been picked in this draft so far. Now we are going to Washington Commanders, who have had a heck of a draft so far. Just an absolute monster of a draft where they picked their new starting quarterback. With the number 2 pick overall, they picked a starting quarterback, and they have had tons of picks since then. But they should start looking at their defense. Their defense last year was ranked last in the NFL. So definitely something that they need to look at. They picked up a linebacker in the 5th round, earlier in the 5th round. Okay, and now it looks like I've been watching for too long, and they've asked me, are you still watching? Guess I have to go in and verify that I am. Makes sense. We've been watching now for about 3 hours. And the pick is in for Washington. Dominique Hampton from Washington again. Now Washington takes the lead. University of Washington with the most number of players drafted in this NFL draft. And that number is sitting at 9. Wow. 9 Washington players drafted so far. The Arizona pick is in, and it hasn't been announced yet. We're on pick 162. So Arizona has picked up a tackle, Christian Jones from Texas. He is that guy that's been on the top of that board of top 200 players, and he was ranked at 55, and he finally just gets drafted in 162. Arizona Cardinals may have just gotten this steal at that pick. Only time will tell. So when the Eagles jumped up to select Jeremiah Trotter, I was unaware of the fact that he is the son of Jeremiah Trotter Sr., who is a Eagles legend. Pro Bowler for the Eagles, and I was unaware of that fact. Makes a lot more sense now why they would jump up to draft him. Currently, Buffalo Bills are on the clock at 163. Green Bay Packers traded up one of those back-to-back picks with the Buffalo Bills. So now the Green Bay Packers are picking 163. Who are they going to pick? Lots of boos. Lots of boos over in the stands. And they select the center, Jacob Monk, out of Duke. It seems the fans are clearing out a bit. We're still in the 5th round, so there's still 2 more rounds left. 6th and 7th. Now we're moving on to Indianapolis Colts at 164. The Indianapolis Colts picked Jalen Simpson, the safety out of Auburn. Okay, now we're on to Baltimore at pick 165. Not too sure how much longer I'm going to be, you guys. It's been about almost a 3.5 hour long stream. And at this point in the draft, it's getting a little slow. So I think maybe I'll stick it out. Maybe another 20 minutes or so until the end of the 5th round. Maybe I'll see the first pick of the 6th round, which is Minnesota. See that. But at this point, a lot of these players aren't necessarily going to be on the team next year that drafts them. So, or at the very least, not starting. So we'll stick around a little bit. Green Bay has another pick coming up soon. And we'll see. Who knows? We'll see what we're going to be facing. Baltimore picks up Rasheen Ali, running back out of Marshall. Interesting decision. They just got one of the better running backs of this NFL offseason. I think they signed him as a free agent. New York Giants pick is in at 166. New York Giants pick running back Tyrone Tracy Jr. from Purdue. Okay, if they could start rushing this, moving this along, that'd be great. And the Jacksonville Jaguars pick running back Keelan Robinson out of Texas. Keelan Robinson. Okay, Buffalo's pick is in at 168. Sometimes it feels like they just kind of sit there and talk forever. Okay, they got edge Javon Solomon from Troy. So Green Bay has picked safety Kitten Oladapo from Oregon State. That's 169. Okay. I think I'm going to call it quits for this stream. At this point, I'm ready to take a break and probably come back later this afternoon. Definitely feel like the Bears shocked some people today with a couple of their moves. Look forward to having a discussion with the guys later. Yep. And if you guys are just tuning in, we're gonna end it up for today. We're just about to finish with the 5th round. Only a handful of picks left, and then they move into the 6th. And at this point, I don't see anything major happening for the Bears. They picked today. Let's just do a little recap. They picked at 122, their 4th round pick. They picked the punter Tory Taylor out of University of Iowa, one of the best punters in the history of at for sure the history of the Iowa Hawkeyes. And there were definitely some records that he broke that I believe were college football records. He's very, very good punter, and I mean, he got a lot of practice, unfortunately, because Iowa's offense could not drive. But he punted a lot, and he pinned the other team's offense back deep every single punt almost. So definitely something that should be good for the Bears if and when they do have to punt. Having a player that can come in that you know is going to be out there pinning the team deep. Because let's be honest, apparently Caleb Williams has already come out and said you're not going to need to punt very much. And I'm okay with that. If we don't need to punt very often, that's fine by me. But to be quite honest with you, there is never going to be a time where I am ever going to say that the punter that we had last year is good enough for us if Tory Taylor is available for us to have. So I'm excited over the prospects that we've had. I was getting ready to head on out, and then all of a sudden the Bears traded up back into the draft. Not traded up because they didn't have another pick. They traded into the draft, and they traded next year's 4th round pick for this year's 144th pick in the 5th round of the draft, and they selected an edge. Now, this edge is going to be a little bit more developmental, going to need a little bit of work, but this guy could be pretty good for us. So we're excited to really see how things go. We will be back later this afternoon for our regular Saturday live show. Can't wait to chat with you all then. Bear down.